Hi, my name is Chase, and I work with an organization called Watsi. We're a global crowdfunding platform for healthcare. So the best way to think about us is that we're like a nonprofit Kickstarter where you can see photos and read stories of individual people from all over the world that need access to healthcare but can't pay for it, and you can donate as little as $5 to directly fund their medical procedures. About 3 years ago, I was working as a Peace Corps volunteer in Central America, and I was riding in the back of a bus, and I was right at the Panama-Costa Rica border, and a woman got on the bus and started asking for donations to pay for her son's health care. And it's actually really embarrassing in retrospect, but I kind of just immediately stopped listening. People would get on the bus every single day and ask for money, and people would very rarely donate. But I looked up a few minutes later, and I saw that this woman was actually walking down the aisle of the bus toward me. And almost every single person on the bus was giving her money. And I could not, for the absolute life of me, figure out why all of these local passengers trusted this particular woman when they hadn't trusted all of the women that had tried to raise money before her. It turned out they trusted this woman because she had her son's medical record with her. It was in a red folder. She was passing it around the bus. People were asking her questions about the procedure or the doctor. And as a result, she really seemed to earn their trust. The woman got to the back of the bus. I made a small donation alongside everyone sitting next to me. She got off the bus, and I remember just getting goosebumps. And I remember thinking, why on earth is there not a website for this? Why on earth is there not a website that makes it really easy for people all over the world to fundraise for medical expenses? So I decided to start Watsi and to name it after the town the woman I was traveling through when the woman got on the bus. So moved back to San Francisco 6 months later, built a team, and we all worked on Watsi as volunteers in our free time. We didn't raise any money. We had no ambitions of starting a big nonprofit organization. We just thought this was a cool idea. We had fun working together. We just wanted to build this idea and see if it worked. And it was during that time when we were working as volunteers that we made 3 decisions which I believe really shaped the future of the organization. The first decision was that one of the things I really didn't like about the nonprofit space was how so many organizations seemed bifurcated, where half the people would have to kind of focus on perpetually fundraising, and only half the people really got to focus on the mission of the organization. So we had no idea how we were going to accomplish this. But we made a pact, and we said that if we ever do this thing full time, we're going to find a way to drastically reduce the amount of time we need to spend fundraising. The second thing we decided is that 100% of every single donation on our website would directly fund healthcare. We would never take a cut, no matter what, and we'd even pay the credit card processing fees out of our own pockets. Again, we had no idea how we were going to make money as an organization, but we thought in the rare event Watsi succeeds, we'll figure it out. And the last thing we decided is that we were going to try and be the most transparent nonprofit in the world. And that meant, from day one, making 100% of our operations and financials publicly available. We have a massive spreadsheet that's actually breaking Google Documents that shows every single thing we do at our organization. It shows the name of every doctor we work with, every hospital we work with, contact information, timestamps from every single date a patient is submitted for funding to when they're funded. We even have screenshots of every single financial transaction we make to prove that every dollar actually ends up where we say it ends up. So after working as volunteers for about a year, just nights and weekends, really no idea what we were doing, we launched Watsi on August 23rd of 2012. I'll never forget it. We launched at 9 a.m. that morning, and my mom donated, and then Grace's mom donated, and Jesse's friends donated, and that was it. That was our launch. It just died. We had no marketing budget, no advertising budget. We didn't know a single person in the press. We had no idea how to launch a website. And so I was a really avid reader of Hacker News. It's a forum where it's the most popular forum for technology news and startups. And I posted a link on Hacker News just to see what would happen. A link to Watsi, and within an hour, we were the #1 post on Hacker News. 16,000 people just almost immediately flooded our website, crashed Watsi, but as soon as we got the site back up, donors collectively funded healthcare for every single patient that was fundraising at that time. And again, we were all had day jobs, so we're all we're all working, and Grace is on our team, and she's responsible for working with the doctors at this one hospital to help post patients' profiles. And she was actually having to hide in the bathroom of her day job, frantically emailing with doctors at this hospital, trying to publish more patients from her iPhone, because we never in our wildest dreams even thought that a scenario like this was possible. So after about a week later, after launching on Hacker News, things had kind of calmed down. And I was laying in bed, and I got a Google alert that TechCrunch had written an article about Watsi. Had no idea TechCrunch was going to write about us. I thought that they would interview us or something like that. And it's so embarrassing, but I actually had tears in my eyes. I was so excited. Like, this little side project we were working on was in TechCrunch, and I read TechCrunch every day. And it was just completely unbelievable. And I remember reading the article as fast as I could to make sure it was good, and they didn't say anything terrible about us. And after I read the article, it was amazing, and it was really well written. I remember turning to my girlfriend at the time and saying, do you think every startup TechCrunch writes about is secretly as crappy as we are? And she's like, what do you mean? You just funded healthcare for so many people. I'm like, I know, but we have no office, we have no employees, we have no funding, we don't even have patients on our website because our operations don't scale. We don't have any of the things I imagine successful, established startups that would be featured in TechCrunch would have. So I, in that moment, realized I had to do this thing, and so I quit my job and decided to try and make Watsi into a real organization. So went out. I had 3 months of savings in the bank. After those 3 months ran out, I was going to have to move in with my parents, which I really didn't want to have to move in with my parents. And so my first goal was to try and raise a bit of money to at least pay a tiny salary for myself so I could get our operations moving, I could build the infrastructure we needed to kind of turn Watsi into a real organization. This whole minimal fundraising thing didn't work too well. I went out, had no connections. We were this new crazy nonprofit that no one had heard of, could not raise a cent. No one donated. And so we started to get really desperate, right? The timeline, our burn rate's going up, we're running out of money. And so we decided to enter an online voting competition that has a $10,000 prize. Online voting competitions, let me tell you, are terrible. I did not know this at the time, but they're the most stressful thing in the world. I think I lost half my Facebook friends because I was just constantly spamming every single person in the world I knew, asking them for them to vote for us. Finally, the last day of the competition, we're tied for first place. We're really close to winning this $10,000, but I'm actually sick. I'm sick from having worked so hard trying to get these stupid votes. And I'm completely out of ideas for how to get more people to vote for us. And about 2 hours before the competition is over, we start to take a lead. And I have no idea where these votes are coming from. I'm like laying down, I'm just dead. And it turns out that Grace, who's in this photo, was at a bar in San Diego, and she convinced this bouncer, who's featured here, to get every single person that was waiting in line to come into the bar to vote for Watsi on their phones before they came in. As a result, we ended up winning the competition. Grace tells this amazing story about how the bartender rang a bell and gave everyone free drinks to celebrate. But we had won the $10,000. And to me at that time, I thought, I could live on $10,000 for a year. We never need to fundraise again. And so right after that, I was flying down to spend the holidays with my family. And the plane landed, and the plane lands, and you look at your phone, and you start to get all your emails. And I saw that I had an email from Paul Graham. And Paul Graham is the founder of an investment fund in Silicon Valley, an incubator called Combinator. And he said he had seen a post I had made on Hacker News a few days earlier trying to get votes for this competition. And his email had 2 sentences. It just said, are you in the Bay Area? If so, I'd like to meet you. And so I was in the Bay Area. Jesse, who was a co-founder, wasn't, but he pretended like he was, so he instantly flew down from Portland. We pretended like we were in the Bay Area. We went and met with Paul Graham, had an amazing meeting at Y Combinator. He ended up inviting us to his home for dinner with Jessica, his wife, who also works at Y Combinator. Had a great dinner, and afterwards he turned to us, and I think he had a little epiphany, and he said, you guys have the same problems as normal startups. You have the same problems as for-profits. We can help you. We know how to solve these problems. Because you didn't ask me for money, here's a check to fund your operations, the biggest check I'd ever held in my life. And he also said, we'd like to invite you to be the first nonprofit to join Y Combinator. So Watsi joined YC. It was an amazing experience. We'd recommend it to every single company and nonprofit out there. Because of really the help they provided us, we grew really fast. We grew about 30% a week. Every single week we're in YC. And after YC finished, we decided to do something kind of crazy. We decided to try and raise a round of donations. I don't know if anyone had done this before, but all of my friends that had for-profit companies were raising seed rounds. venture seed rounds. And I thought, why can't we do this? We can do the same thing. We'll do a philanthropic seed round, is what we called it. So we went out and we tried to raise money in a short period of time to fund our operations. We got very lucky. It actually worked. Ilka and Miko of Supercell, who I think are probably here somewhere, donated to fund our operations alongside people like Ron Conway and Vinod Khosla and Paul Graham. Every single one of our donors ended up being a technology entrepreneur or investor. And so that seed round enabled us to invest in our organization so we could help more people. And it ultimately enabled us to finally, after working hard for years, to build a real full-time team. One of my favorite quotes is that the best part of starting a company is that you get to choose the company you keep. And I think that we've been very lucky. We've had the opportunity to recruit some of the smartest people in the world and build what I believe is really one of the best teams in technology. And it's because of this team that, as of a few days ago, we've been able to process on a website more than $3 million, funding healthcare for more than 3,000 patients now in 19 countries around the world. This is Priyanka. This is one of the first patients we ever funded on Watsi, and her story really sticks with me. When she was a young girl, she suffered a really severe burn on her right hand, and there were no doctors in the area, so she never got medical attention. And as a result, all of her fingers fused together. She couldn't use her right hand. So she was trying to raise money to pay for surgery that would separate her fingers and give her back use of her hands. And I remember the first photo she submitted for her profile on Watsi, she looked very angry. She looked very sad. She was really depressed as a result of the state of her hand. But 22 donors collectively funded her $840 procedure. She received surgery. It was successful. And I'll never forget the update she sent us. This is the photo she sent. She looked so happy when juxtaposed with the photo she had previously sent us. And her quote said, "I used to hate going to school because I had no friends, and I was ashamed to make friends because I didn't have any fingers, but now I have all my fingers." And we had funded a lot of types of procedures on Watsi. We had funded life-saving heart surgeries, cancer care, cataracts, hydrocephalus, but there was something about the simplicity of this quote that really stuck with me. And it was the first time I had realized that this website, a group of friends had just built in their free time, had actually changed this girl's life. It had forever changed this human being's life. And I learned a very important lesson. I learned that being a real startup isn't about how many full-time employees you have. It's not about your office. It's not about how big your last round was. It's not about press. It's even ironically not about being on stage at a conference talking. All of those things are great. They help you succeed. They help you accomplish your mission. But at the end of the day, we learned that being a real startup is about a group of people working together to solve a problem that is a lot more important and a lot bigger than they are. Thank you.